Welcome to 17 Strong. Victories don't come by accident. Here's your host, Steve Teixeira.
Thanks, Andy. Welcome to another 17 Strong podcast. I'm your host, Steve Teixeira, along with my beautiful wife, Holly. Hi, babe.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So we took the holidays off. We didn't have a podcast last month. Things have been crazy in California with COVID and with everything going on with 17 Strong. And, our thoughts and prayers are with everyone that's been affected by COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we lost one of our podcast members, our board members, our close personal friend, and she lost her battle with cancer. Danelle Miller passed away on New Year's Eve of 2020. So our hearts are heavy, and it's a tough time for all of us. But we know that she's in a better place, and she left behind a lasting legacy, just like Ryan did. So we're going to continue to move forward and honor her, and as Danelle would say, keep that sparkle.
Absolutely.
So, things have been tough with COVID, like we've talked about, and we talk quite a bit about a support group and having people to surround yourself that will support you in a time of need. And today's podcast, we're doing just that. We are introducing some very close family friends that we have known for too many years to even count. Our kids grew up together, and they now live on the East Coast, up in New Hampshire, but formerly California residents. And they played an integral part of Ryan's story because they were with us at the hospital quite a bit. So would you like the honors?
Sure. I will introduce to you our super besties and family friends, JJ and Tim Vercellono. Thank you for being here.
Welcome.
Happy to be here.
We're so glad to be here.
So this is a Zoom call. This is our first.
This is our first.
We're going to apologize right now for any technical difficulties or echoing or anything that goes on. But it is, what time is it here? We're at 3:30, so it's 5:30. 6:30.
Oh, 6:30.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's already dark back there.
It is.
It gets dark at like 4.
So, babe, what is your first question for Tim and JJ?
Gosh, the first question. Why don't we talk about the relationship first of all? This isn't just a normal friendship, family friend. This is a little deeper than that. So why don't you start with you and JJ first, and then we'll get into that.
There's not enough time to go with JJ and I.
Well,
I mean, JJ is a pastor's daughter, and we basically grew up together. We all attended the same church. And so I've known her brothers and her since we went to church there. So that goes all the way back to the 70s in Santa Maria, California. So.
You know how old we are, Steve?
I know, right?
Well, no, because I didn't say how old we were. I just said it was the 70s.
That's right. I know.
So I've known, JJ for a long time. And then she brought Tim into our life. And that was, 28 years ago?
27.
Yeah,
28 years ago. Yeah, so we've known them for a long time. And our kids are, Ryan and Shay are the same age. And then Casey and Aaron are the same age.
Yep. And then
they have a third. We stopped at 2.
So they have the 2 girls.
Holly left me hanging out on a limb. They were supposed to do a third.
I know, right?
Yep.
Sorry about that. She will never let me live that down. Yeah. So anyway, if you want to talk about just us, raising our kids together just for a minute, how, Ryan and Shay you were there the day I went into labor, I remember. So yeah, we go way back. So talk about that for a minute.
We go way back. I mean, like both Steve and Holly were saying, this isn't just your run of the mill. We're just best friends. No, this is a deep.
It's more family than it is anything.
Yeah, it's generational. I mean, our parents, in fact, Steve's parents weren't here all that long ago visiting my parents who now live with us as well. But it was fun because we all seemed to hit the same phases of life, obviously at the same time, because we're all in the same age bracket. And I can remember when we all started having our babies and started doing all that, and the excitement of that, and being able to talk with one another about different parenting tips and different frustrations as a parent, and all those different things. In fact, Tim and I were sitting here reminiscing a little, and I said, remember when Steve and Holly were the life group leaders, and Ryan was like maybe a year old, if that's, standing there, and Steve would throw him with a plastic baseball and he'd hit it with that little tiny baseball. And we're like, wow, he's really gifted. Mine can't even walk yet. You know?
But then Shay later on took her first step at Steve and Holly's house after one of our life group meetings.
That's right. That's right.
And then we had several incidents that happened that we cannot discuss on radio about, going to play games at your house and finding presents in the hall that weren't from the dog.
This would be true, but it was fun. I mean, our kids all learned how to swim together. They took swim lessons together, and I can't remember really 4th of July or a Halloween that wasn't spent together, whether it was up at the beach house in Cayucas or whether it was at a harvest festival at the church. I remember the first one where Rye was in his Winnie the Pooh little Halloween outfit, and Shay had this little bunny ears thing, you know. Going.
I remember that.
Always took pictures of those things together, but the kids, they grew up together, and it was fun watching their relationships. As I said, we have the 3 kids that are all similar in age, and even though we have the third one, Jackson wasn't far behind, but did whatever he could to always be with Ryan and Aaron as much as he possibly could.
Yeah. Hang out with boys.
Yeah. And so it was just a treat to watch their relationships as they were like brothers and sisters together.
And we did even tell them that this is Aunt JJ and Uncle Tim. So it wasn't just that was a respect that we had amongst each other. So it was family like.
And our kids, even to this day, still talk about Uncle Steve and Aunt Holly and talk about Ryan and Aaron being their cousins.
And that's how special it is.
That's really neat.
Yeah. Tim, you had a special name for Ryan, and I don't even remember how that started. Do you remember?
I just remember it. I called Ryan a few times, but Slick just seemed to stick. And I just remember when he was little, he just was always slick. He'd always try to slip away. Or if we were coming over, he'd try to give me a hug or something. Or I was going to give him a hug. He would just kind of slip away. And I say, man, you're pretty slick. And it just stuck. And so Ryan being Ryan, always had to one-up Uncle Tim. So whenever we'd see you guys, it was, hey, what's going on, Slick? And he'd always go, what's going on, Slicker?
That's right. It
was either Uncle Tim or it was Slicker. And it was Slicker most of the time. And it just stuck. And I love that we kind of had that little Uncle Tim, Ryan.
Right.
Yeah. That was special. Yeah, that was super special. Well, and you guys were in our neck of the woods for quite some time, and then you guys moved to Chicago area to plant a church, and then ended up back kind of in our area, and we're
in Southern California.
So, and that's where you guys were in San Clemente. Am I right?
No.
Santa Clarita.
Santa Clarita. Okay, and that's kind of where you were when they were teenagers, right? That's where your kids went to high school and.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where we were, and I remember Rye would come up for the scouting, the baseball scouting. So we'd get to connect, like, hey, we're going to be at this scouting thing. Ryan's pitching, pray, and we'd pray and meet up to grab a meal together. Or if you guys were around, you'd come to one of Jackson's hockey games, or different times, or when we'd go up there, be able to. I remember Casey getting to sing a time or two at the national anthem there at the Roy Grande Field.
That's right. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and Jackson was our first taste of hockey because we were baseball people. And
what's with all these fans?
I mean, hockey in California, that kind of doesn't go hand in hand, but in Southern California, hockey's everywhere. So
I know.
That was interesting. Yeah, that was super interesting. Okay, so now if we go into the cancer journey of Ryan just a tad, I don't even know how you guys found out about it. So let's talk about that for a minute. Like, how did you find out about it? And then how did your kids find out about it? And how did they take that news?
You know, it was interesting because Tim and I were both talking. We have very, very clear memories of the resurgence when it came back that second time. But the first time, as I was sitting here thinking in preparation, I remember you and I spending some time together. We were up there, and you saying, "You need to pray for Ryan. He's got like this pulled hamstring or something. We don't even know what's going on." I was like, "Oh, okay. We'll be praying. Keep us posted." And then I think I got a text or a call from one of you sent me a text, or maybe it was through the family, sent a text. "You need to pray." This is what that was. And I remember I drove up, and you and I went to lunch there in downtown Arroyo Grande at, something about a rooster?
Rooster Creek. Rooster Creek is a restaurant around here.
I jumped in the car when I got that text and drove right up, and we didn't have long, but we got to spend some time I said, just whatever you want to talk about, whatever you don't want to talk about. And you just went through sharing about, this thing that was thought to be a hamstring ended up not being a hamstring, and then just kind of, but getting to process a little bit of that initial fear, panic, and grief in that moment of saying, we need Jesus to step in like we've never needed him to step in before. And we didn't have long because it was a spontaneous little thing, and we just got to spend that meal together. And then I got back in the car to go back down to LA, and thus began our prayer journey. And then we met you guys. I believe that time he was in Santa Monica.
Right.
Came down.
Yep.
And we came down just a few times to that hospital because it was all relatively new things, and wanting to be safe with his health and different things. But I remember we did sit down our kids once that evening when I came back. We sat down with the kids and told them, and they, tears
shocked.
and fear and not sure what was going on. But then immediately they began to pray. And Casey, I don't know if you guys remember this, it was within a week or two, Casey's school, she went to Hart High School in Newhall, was wanting to find an inspirational cause. And she took that to her class, and Hart High School started a GoFundMe for Ryan way back in that very first initial stages when that happened. And I'm not sure how much or whatever ended up with that. I hope something ended up.
No, that was the first 17 strong GoFundMe, because that's where the money went, as we were able to start. That's what the money Ryan used to help, do all the legal fees and get all the 501c3 set up. So that was overwhelming.
If I recall, it was thousands of dollars.
It was thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And then this is people that we didn't even know, that
our kids saying, we got to do something. This is our cousin.
Right.
And so finding their ways beyond just wanting to pray, but saying what's something tangible, and how can we make this known, and how can we let our peers know this isn't something that just affects older people.
Right.
Cancer, the light just went off. There we go. Cancer can affect us, and it's affecting my family. And
Right.
Yeah, so that was that's how I can remember that our kind of our first
The first run at it.
bout initially.
Yeah. But that just goes to show the kindness of people's hearts. Here's people reaching out, and we're seeing that a lot with COVID going on. People that are in dire need, that they don't know you, but here's $20, here's $10, here's $5 because it's all I can afford. But it's the heart, and that's what's so important right now. It's the heart of the matter, and it's being able to help somebody that's less fortunate than you. And
That's right.
you by Casey doing that, it showed where her heart was, and people that had no clue about our family, about Ryan, anything, or what he was going through, was like, yeah, I can give, I can help.
Right.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And I had forgotten that 17 Strong existed at that point, because he had, went through the treatment and then went through the surgery. Because after he came out of that surgery, is
Right.
when 17 Strong was born. So it was probably the first couple of months into that
Yeah.
journey, that first cancer journey.
Yep.
So, and when he said that, we were, had to get all those stuff in order, the legal 501c3 paperwork and stuff. So that was a need that she met. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Do you have anything else?
Well, Tim, let's see. You were a chaplain for an organization in Southern
That was
California, weren't you?
Yeah, I was on. Yeah, I was on. I was pastoring in JJ and I were pastoring in Mission Hills, but I was a chaplain at a hospital in the San Fernando Valley.
Right, right.
I was called there quite a bit because the San Fernando Valley, if you're in the Southern California area, that's just millions of people that live there. It was a
Oh,
very
yeah.
yeah.
So you're having an opportunity. I mean, let's take Ryan out of the equation. You're having an opportunity at this point to meet people in their deepest, darkest hour and
Yeah.
give them a chance of hope or being able to just be with them and comfort them in a time of need. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was, being a chaplain was a real roller coaster because there were a lot of times where you're meeting people, like you said, at real low points, at real crisis points. One weekend when I was on call, and you probably remember, I had 3 calls that were fetal demise, is what they were called when they were looking at the loss of either a newborn baby or an unborn baby.
Mm.
And the first call I got, and it was all weekend. It was from Friday until Sunday evening, and leading worship and preaching at a church. It was a lot. But I remember the first one I got was a family, and I got to the doctor, and they said, "Here's what's going on." I got to go minister to the family, pray with them. Came back home, got another page, drove back down into the valley, second time, prayed with the family. Came back home, got another call on the Sunday, drove back down, prayed with the family, and God actually did a miracle with that one. That family, they were told that their baby didn't have, I don't recall what organ it was, but they said, "You'll give birth to the baby, but when the baby comes out of the womb, it's going to be dead within a matter of time." And the family was just heartbroken. So we prayed and asked the Lord to do a miracle. And prayed with them, came back home. I talked to one of the nurses the week later, and she said, "Pastor, we don't know what happened, but the baby came out alive, all organs, all 10 fingers, 10 toes, normal, healthy. What did you do?" I said, "We just prayed."
Yeah.
It was,
Wow.
God
it
still
was,
does miracles.
that's
Yes, he
right.
does.
Yes, he does. And I was blown away and thankful. So it was, like I said, it was a real roller coaster.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
So, did you find that a lot of people that you have the opportunity to be with had a support system, or they did not?
I would say that a majority of people did. There were very few that didn't. And the couple that didn't, you could see the loneliness and the longing for relationship, because God wired us to have relationship with one another. To
Yeah.
one degree, his ministry flows from relationship.
That's
And
right.
so, yeah.
And I think that's so important, especially right now with COVID. I mean, you see different ways that people can reach out on Facebook or social media, and you can't necessarily have family dinners, if you will, anymore. You can't go outside. At least here in California, you're not supposed to go outside your core group,
Mm-hmm.
to help slow the spread. But it's so important for people to be able to reach out, whether it's write a letter the old fashioned way, or pick up the telephone and call someone, or do a Zoom call or Skype or something. But people need that connection. I mean, just like you said, we're wired for that.
Mm.
We need that. It's okay to be alone every once in a while because everybody needs their alone time too. But there's too much loneliness going on right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of isolation, a lot of loneliness, a lot of
Yeah.
isolation.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's healthy, especially in desperate times, you need that advocate for yourself and for, that loved one or whatever. So I'm so thankful that we didn't have to deal with that part of it, because that would have been just devastating. It already was devastating, but, and so I know the first spout you guys only had come down a couple of times. The second time when Ryan was diagnosed with the leukemia, he was more isolated. And he was at what is it, Ronald Reagan Hospital at that point, which is literally down the road. But you were only, what, 40 minutes away, 45 minutes away?
Right.
Yeah, we were about 40 minutes away.
And I remember the day I got Steve, when you texted me about Ryan and about the leukemia. We were sitting at a staff meeting.
This was before what happened 4 years ago, literally right now.
Right.
Yeah, this was when he went back in the hospital.
And I remember you texted me and you told me what was going on. And I left staff meeting, canceled my appointments, and I said, I got to go.
Yeah. And I think that's right when we had got Medevac back into LA.
Yes, exactly.
Because he was re-diagnosed in Colorado and they Medevaced us overnight.
Exactly.
So that was that following morning, because I remember texting you and I hadn't had much sleep,
Right. Yeah, you texted me and I came down, and I remember when you and I saw each other, we just fell on each other's shoulders and just wept.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And I'm glad I was able to be there for you, man.
Yeah, thank you for being there. And again, you were the support system. Everybody needs that support system, and you were at the right place at the right time, because Holly couldn't be there. She was being driven back from Colorado. So, we were both two separate areas, so we couldn't be with each other. And
then only one person can be in the
Right.
helicopter
Right.
or the airplane.
in the
whatever it
airplane.
was.
So,
Yeah, but it wasn't even asked of. It was basically every week or every three. It was probably 3 days a week that JJ and Tim. And if it wasn't JJ, it was Tim. Or if it wasn't, Tim, it was Shay. Or if one of you were always there. And I remember even one time when your mom and dad decided to make the visit just to see Ryan, and just the change of scenery made such a huge difference. And for a while he did really, really well, and he was able to talk, and and that was great. But then there was those visits where that wasn't the case, and we were so you saw it every day, how things changed or didn't change, and it's walk us through your feelings. Steve and I understand that, but what did you think at home? And oh my gosh, I'm sure now that I can actually step back and say, those were not fun visits. Those were dreadful visits to see us and to see. But explain what your thoughts were.
I remember I was real thankful for, we had this one, and I don't know where this fell in the timeline. We had this one visit with Rye and the kids, and my mom and dad. We brought Olive Garden to the hospital.
yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where it was.
And I think your mom and dad were there too.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. But I'm not sure where it was. I think things were getting better and I think it was like shortly, like all of a sudden Tim gets this call from Steve saying, you need to pray now. And this was roughly about 4 years ago, right at this time frame. You need to pray now. Things are.
That was our first trip to the ICU where he got sick.
Right.
Yeah.
It could turn for the worse. We were talking about going home, and Ryan said something doesn't feel right. And before we knew it, he was at UCLA intensive care, and Tim and I didn't know anything to do other than to get in the car and come down, even if we just sat in the waiting room.
Right.
And we got the car and came down, and we actually came 7 days a week. One or the other one of us were down there 7 days a week from that day. I remember, and the reason I know the timeline so well is because I remember watching President Trump's inauguration in the UCLA room.
That's right. That's right.
With all the machines going on, and at that time our greatest concern was the dialysis. We're praying over that dialysis machine and different things. And just for me, it wasn't dread. It was, this is where I need to be.
Right.
This is where, when it says when one is weak, the other is strong for them. And it was almost, I didn't care if it cost us our jobs. We didn't care if it cost us what it cost. We didn't care about what it cost us for gas or for parking or whatever. This was what God, I feel like it was the reason, there was part of the reason why God even brought that, to share a family and the Hamilton family together. It was for this moment, just at the intersection of our lives. And I knew that there was nowhere I wanted to be other than to be there as a support to Holly for whatever she needed. And Tim for Steve, for you guys, if you needed a break, if you needed something, to just be available for that, to try to gauge what the emotional thing was. And there were so many points we were just simply so honored to be there. I remember getting to be there when they took the breathing tube out of Ryan for those few days, and getting to be there and watching, just to see that beautiful moment shared between Ryan and Holly as he was whispering to her all these things that had happened at that time, and getting to hear him say Slicker, in his raspy voice, acknowledging that he knew who Uncle Tim was. But and our kids took the time to come down a time or two, but it wasn't a dread. It was, we had no doubt that if it was reversed, the same thing, you guys would have been doing the same thing. It just was an instinct. It was, there's no other place I can be right now.
Right.
Well, so much so. I remember, Steve, you saying to me at one point, you said, hey, if you need to be more at the office, if you've got to do it, and I said, Steve, this is my office.
Yeah.
And I just bring my computer and I would just do what I had to do. I mean, I'd be in the church office when I needed to be, but I'm very thankful that.
Yeah, we are very thankful that you were there. And, a lot of people don't have friends like you or have family that will drop everything and be there. But it's so important to find that person or that family that can help you, because doing this kind of stuff alone is...
I couldn't imagine.
It's,
It was,
you don't want to imagine it.
No, 40 days. And I remember thinking, I don't even know. It's just you function, and that's all you can do is just function. But I knew that I could always count on the Vercellonos, always, no matter if we needed food or if we needed just that break, that we could just
sleep. And
that was that was a godsend. That one time that we could just, I remember Tim was able to spend the night with Ryan in ICU so that we could just try to sleep, and but yet it was one of those things that we could ask, and it was just so natural and in an organic way. So it just, now that we can actually take a step back and just go, wow, we just had the most amazing support group that we could ask for, really. So
that time, honestly.
We really do.
Yeah, that's
I can't tell you how many times JJ and I would talk, and we hated that you guys were going through what you were going through, and that Ryan and Aaron, just that you guys. But I can't tell you how many times JJ and I would say, we're so glad that God put us all in each other's lives.
Yeah.
Because we got to walk through it with you guys. And I remember saying, what else can we do? How else can we help? What else can we do? And just be there for you guys.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the good, bad, and the ugly. I mean, and that's exactly what it was. It was so hard to put one foot in front of the other, but there were times I remember JJ would tell me, you have to eat something, Holly. She would hand feed me things. It was
getting you to eat was the biggest challenge of that whole
That was the craziest thing. Yeah, that was crazy. I wanted to ask Tim, though, since you have been in, just leadership and, chaplain, and how was this different, if it was different, to see Ryan versus others go through a struggle and such a hard fight? And maybe that's just a horrible question, I don't even know, but it's almost like it is a family member, and he was 20 years old, so you saw everything. So I'm wondering if there was anything different or anything that was that you saw.
Everybody would like to say that they treat people the same everywhere they go. And that's always been my heart, is that the Tim people see in church is the same Tim that they see the gas station or the grocery store or whatever. And that's always been my prayer. And me personally, I want people to feel cared for. I want people to see Jesus. I want them to feel his care and concern, because we're all, we're the hands and feet of Jesus. Those of us who have made Jesus Lord of our life, we say, Lord, I just want to be you to the people you've called me to serve. But Ryan was different, because, like we've been talking, we remember, gosh, I mean, kids all grew up together.
The day he was born.
Yeah. I mean, and, I was just, JJ and I were talking before we got on our call today. And I said, we were talking about one of my favorite memories of Ryan was actually when we moved to Chicago. He had made this big poster board, and he said, I don't remember what it all said, but I just remember it said, "I love you, Slicker." And I thought, I wish I still had that thing. And there was something about Ryan that was just easy to love. And so for Ryan, I felt, invested isn't the right word, because we all felt like family.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I
Right.
know.
And my hope was that Ryan wasn't just seeing me being there as, well, I'm a pastor, this is what I'm supposed to do, but this is Uncle Tim, and he's here because he loves me, he cares about me. And, I can't tell you how many hours we would pray, for Ryan and for Aaron and for you guys, and thank God for Ryan's healing, and thank God that he'd continue to provide for you guys. And so, I guess for lack of a better word, invested is the word that just comes to mind, because I just love that guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important invested. I love that, because that's what 17 Strong does, is we invest in the lives of these other people that have gone through the same thing, that they've beat their disease, but we're investing in them and giving them a new start, a fresh start. And I think in this day and age, we need to be investing in more people. There's a real polarization going on in this country. And I think we need to turn that polarization the other way, and we need to invest in each other. And it's not about the color of our skin. It's not about our religion. It's not about anything. It's about love. And it's about being able to love one another. And that's all it is. If we take the time to invest in one person a day, one person a day, maybe it's someone at the grocery store, and you notice they're in a hurry and the line is forever long, but you say, you know what? You can cut in front of me. Go ahead. And you don't know what that person's going through in that moment, in that time, in that hour, but it could change their life, because you took the opportunity to invest in them. We're not talking about becoming a new best friend or anything, but it's just trying to make a change in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's those ministry moments.
Yes.
Right.
And one thing we've always tried to do is whenever the Lord opens a door to minister, to recognize it and then walk through it. And it might be just that moment. It may be for more moments, but it's always saying, Lord, help us be cognizant of what we're seeing, so we know how to effectively minister your love and your grace.
Yeah.
Right. And right now it's so important, because with COVID, people that are going through cancer, they're going through these illnesses, or they're fighting COVID in a hospital, they don't get visitors anymore. There's no more of that physical touch. You're relying on the healthcare worker to be your eyes and ears, to send that message. And my heart breaks for those people, because there's people that are dying on a daily basis that don't have the touch of a loved one by their side. And my heart hurts for the care workers, these nurses and doctors that are dealing with this on a daily basis, that they're overwhelmed.
Sure.
And some of them are quarantined. They can't even go home to their own family, because they've been dealing with, COVID patients, if you will, and they have to go to a separate apartment or something so they don't risk spreading COVID amongst their kids.
And they're having to take on a role that they never signed up for, because they are having to be that support system. For
Exactly.
these kids, rather
Exactly.
than a health caregiver.
Mm,
And that is an emotional role.
It's
That is a mental role. That is a connection role. And so to me, the ministry and prayer that we need to be giving to our healthcare workers right now, because they are having to fulfill a place that they were not trained, and with the brokenness of many people, probably aren't emotionally equipped to deal with. And so much of our prayers do need to go in covering those heroes of healthcare.
yeah, because
It's true.
you're looking at a new form of PTSD, if you will. I mean,
Yeah.
this is.
Absolutely.
I mean, this has never been, well, in our lifetime. There's never been a pandemic, so the generations of healthcare workers right now have never had to deal with anything like this, and now we're going to have to find different ways to help them get through this when this is finally over.
Oh yeah, for sure. For
That's
sure.
interesting. Okay, so what are your thoughts about 17 Strong? This is
Well,
yes,
Well,
I want to hear.
I could tell you one of my thoughts.
Oh,
he keeps that sticker.
I keep this. I've had this since we were there for Ryan's funeral. And it was there weren't a whole lot of these that were produced. So I take extra special care of this.
nice.
And I always keep it on the back of my phone because it's always a conversation starter.
Is that it's hard to tell on the Zoom call. Is
That's
that
actually from his Arroyo Grande.
Yes,
oh, that's the helmet sticker.
the helmet
Gotcha.
sticker, yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah. But my thoughts on 17 Strong is, number one, I love having an avenue to share Ryan's story. Because not just because everybody who is in a special relationship with somebody thinks this was the best kid in the world, but there was an anointing and a touch on Ryan's life that, like you said, it's a lasting legacy that is growing and being known. And so to know the heart behind 17 Strong, and I mean, birthed out of Ryan's heart that every young adult should have the opportunity, and those over a certain age should have the opportunity to have dreams fulfilled after they've fought a hard battle or different things. What a spirit. Most would be defeated and be like, I can't believe I've aged out, or I can't believe that they get angry or bitter. And Ryan said, well, I'm going to make it better then.
Yep.
And to me, so what 17 Strong is doing in the lives of people who feel hopeless already, potentially because the situations they have found themselves in life due to diagnosis and recovery and relapses and different things, and the defeat and all that they already feel, to have someone say, but we want to give you something just because you're you. There was a boy, there was a man who believed in you.
Yeah.
And his legacy is to see you find a joy in the midst of a time that's hard.
Yeah.
To me is an amazing, wonderful gift. And so, you know, we love wearing our sweatshirts, and especially back here, it's really neat getting to wear it. People are like, what is that? Let me tell you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've been able to tie it into our messages here at the church.
That's awesome. And I love that it's going to be a household name. I know it is. I just know, because Ryan thought that way. It wasn't just, it was always out of the box for him. So always thinking of others before himself. And I love it. I love that. I love that it comes from a different angle with you guys, and how you can preach it from a pulpit, and people receive it, because he was just one of a kind, and I love that. One last thing, I think we can wrap it up, and I think Tim kind of explained his favorite memory. If JJ, you have a favorite memory, that's what I would love to hear.
Oh my gosh, I have to narrow it down to one, but
I know.
I will, because we just watched this again this Christmas.
Oh, I know what you're.
So in 2004, we had moved to Chicago, and Steve and Holly flew back and spent our first Thanksgiving in Chicago with us and the boys and all our kids. And so if you know any of it, maybe not so much Steve, but we are all super high energy, and we get really excited when we're together. And my girls at the time were very into singing and dancing and different things like this.
And it snowed this day.
And it had snowed, and the kids were all in their jammies, and we were doing little concerts. And the kids were singing the Polar Express. Now, Aaron was the smart one. He knelt down and hid behind the couch. You can watch him kind of sink down like, I am not going to be a part of this craziness. But at this one part, Casey and Jackson are singing, and Jackson's 3 at the time, and he is now 20. So, you know, this is a long time ago. Casey and Jackson are singing, and then suddenly Shay and burst into the room doing ballet. And then they begin to sing. And if any of you know Brian, he
was not one to be outdone.
Gifted with his vocal ability.
None of us are gifted with our. I carry my tunes in a bag.
So there's this one part, and we watched it. Just all the kids were home for Christmas, and we pulled out the video and we watched it, and we all just were crying of laughter because Ryan just goes, ah, you know,
trying to
solo part, and it was just
epic.
To have that on video and begin to be able to see and remember the gift of that beautiful life. Whenever we want to, and the swirling of memories that come with it. That, I have to say, is my favorite, one of my favorite moments.
Yeah.
And it's probably one because I see it, you know, at least a year.
I think you even brought that to the hospital because I was
I did.
Like, you have to see it, Holly. You have to see it. Because I hadn't seen it before that day. And I was like, oh, my God.
And that's when camcorders were still the big units you
they
held
were
on your
big,
shoulder.
yeah.
And you put the whole tape in there.
Yeah.
I mean, cell phones didn't. I mean, we
No.
didn't have cell phones like that,
Yeah,
you
not
know?
like
It
that.
just
That was a good
And
time.
I love getting to relive that. But so there's obviously so many other memories, but that one
yeah.
comes to
That
mind.
is so good. So
well,
good.
that's good.
Well,
That's
gosh.
good.
And I mean, we could talk for hours, but I guess we'll wrap it up. Steve's telling me we need to wrap it up. But
I'm
if
only
there's
telling
anything
because
else
Nate's
that you
telling
need,
me to wrap it up.
yeah. Okay. All right.
This would be a 2-hour conversation.
It could be, yeah.
Nate, welcome to the family.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, like you guys said, we just are forever grateful for the family, friendship, bond that we share, and we thank Jesus for the gift of that and the honor it was to be close in proximity during that time, as our hearts are always close. But to have been able to be close in proximity, for us, it was the honor of a lifetime to be able to be there and walk through this with you all.
Well, and it was
We
our privilege to have you guys there, and it was, a blessing for us because you helped us get through a very tragic time in our life, and so for that we're eternally grateful.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. I have
and-
no words. I have
Yeah.
no words.
Yeah.
It was
And it's-
beyond.
But for those of you that are, going through something right now, and if you need that touch, I encourage you to reach out. There's plenty of professionals out there that can help you, that can help talk you through this, whether it's a pastor or a licensed mental health therapist, social worker, somebody. But please talk to somebody and be able to open up, because going through this alone is not what we're intended to do.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, we're going to wrap up another 17 Strong podcast. Thank you to our engineer and producer, Nate Hand, sitting back there behind the controls. And Tim and JJ, we love you.
Love you.
And
We love you guys.
thank you. And thanks for joining us today. And just remember, attitude is everything.
You've been listening to 17 Strong. Victories don't come by accident. To be part of the show, make a donation, or request more information, go to 17strong.org. That's SEVENTEEN strong.org.